Hello and welcome to The Zone with Zack and Mike Block. We're glad to have you with us on this lovely Thursday afternoon on WQHS, the University of Pennsylvania's only student-run radio station. As you may know, this is not our normal show time, and that is because we have a very special guest today, the general manager of the New York Jets, Mike Tannenbaum. Great to have you here, Mike.
Great to be here, guys.
All right, so let's jump right into it. Big win, of course, last week against the San Diego Chargers. And I got to say, I was rooting extra hard this week because I wanted you to be in a good mood. And that kind of leads me to my first question. As a fan, the game has a real impact on me, probably even through half the week. It kind of affects my mood. But as someone who's so invested, how do you not let the game, which is so important, impact you for that whole week?
That's just being professional. You can't get too high or too low. It's a long 16-game season. And actually, going back 2 years ago, we were the first team in NFL history to have two different three-game losing streaks that still make the playoffs. And I think that's byproduct of good leadership and understand that there's going to be highs and lows.
Awesome.
Yeah. Actually, going back to that game, Plaxico Burress, one of your big signings in the offseason, had his breakout game as a Jet. 3 touchdowns, just really went off on the Chargers defense. Does this validate the signing, and what do you expect from him sort of going forward? Do you expect the same kind of production out of him?
When you look around really like all sports in terms of significant layoffs, going back to Michael Vick a couple years ago with the Eagles, Ryan Sandberg missed a couple years with the Cubs, even Mike Tyson's, on and off career in boxing. Sometimes it takes guys a while. And when we had signed Plaxico, we felt like he was going to be a really important piece, but not necessarily from day one. So with Dustin Keller, Santonio Holmes, LaDainian Tomlinson, Jeremy Curley, really felt like we had some other weapons that he'll help us. But as the season goes, he'll just continue to play more, improve. So we felt it was a good signing, but a signing that may take some time.
Right, so staying on Plax for a second, I've noticed that the Jets are not afraid to sign players with checkered histories on or off the field.
A lot of Santonio Holmes or somebody like that, other guys who have had issues off the field in the past.
But we've seen great success with them on the field and off the field once they've reached the Jets. So what makes you the type of general manager that's willing to take that risk?
Well, I think it's a fundamental belief in your organization, starting with Woody Johnson and the resources he gives us to work with people that may have had some bumps in the road. And obviously it's Rex Ryan and a unique ability to reach people from all different backgrounds. And, we've been fortunate, and I think that's kind of added to our success where we could take calculated risks.
And I'm glad you brought up Rex Ryan. That was really that's one of the big things I wanted to get to in this interview because I don't root either way, really. I don't have a football affiliation. So as somebody who's pretty neutral, roots for the Jets because they're in New York but not a fan, I don't always love the very public approach that Rex Ryan sometimes takes and a lot of the things that he says. But that's just a personal opinion. I know a lot of the fans love it, though.
Count me as one.
Yeah, he's always talking about how, he loves that Ryan's always kind of getting the team and getting all the fans in the city pumped up. Is that something that you obviously knew that when you signed him, I'm sure from interviewing him and such. Does it ever create sort of a media, like almost problem for you guys? Is there a lot of damage control you have to play? And do you love that he gets everybody into it, or that he sometimes antagonizes people?
Rex is Rex. He's genuine, and I think that's what leadership's about, is being who you are. And he won't always be politically correct. He won't tell you what you want to hear. He's going to speak from the heart and the truth, and he's really proud of what we've done. And we're very transparent. Going back a year ago and making the decision to do Hard Knocks. We felt like we had a great story to tell, and led by Rex, and he's going to be very out in front. And I wouldn't trade him for the world.
Yeah, neither would I as a fan. So great job there. So let's move on to perhaps his favorite player, at least the cornerstone of the defense, Darrelle Revis. Now, Ryan recently told the NFL Network that he believes that the best Jet in the history of the New York Jets franchise is Darrelle Revis. Do you agree with that?
In terms of where we're judging people in history, I'm a little bit more reserved, let's say, a little bit more calculated. So we'll see. Hey, Darrelle's a great player. We're lucky he's with us. Works tirelessly at his craft, like anybody who's successful in any walk of life. Very passionate about what he does. Where that all shakes out, when his career's over, well, we can have that discussion maybe when you guys are in graduate school.
Right. Now, but when you drafted him, of course, it was partially your decision to draft him, if not fully your decision. So you saw him as somebody that could grow to be a great player. To be honest, did you imagine him that he would be this great of a player, the best cornerback in the league?
Going back to the 07 draft, there was 3 corners we liked a lot: Aaron Ross, Leon Hall, and Darrelle. And
right.
Really felt like we wanted to get any of those 3. And I had actually agreed in principle the night before with Marty Herney, the general manager of the Carolina Panthers, that if a player we wanted was there at 14, that I wanted to move up 11 spots for him. And Darrell was, of those three, the first guy we wanted. Felt like there was a reasonable chance he could be there at 14, not at 25, just because he was a junior. He didn't really have a lot of action at Pitt, so it was really more a function of I thought there was a little chance he could slide because of that. And he got to 14, and we were actually fortunate because in that same draft we were able to move up for David Harris as well.
Another great cornerstone of the defense.
Yeah. Now as for another young player, let's say, I'd like to talk a little bit about Mark Sanchez. I guess fairly bluntly, are you happy with where he is so far in his third year? Certainly taking you guys to 2 AFC Championship games, but still some, I guess we'll say, questionable numbers. Is he as far along as you thought he'd be at this point? Or if you can answer that, I don't mean to be too direct, but
that's okay. You're doing your job, right?
Exactly.
Mark's really done he's done a really good job for us. Anytime you're developing a quarterback, there's going to be bumps on the road. You look at the Flaccos of the world, the Josh Freemans of the world, the Matt Staffords. There's going to be some games that are really good, and some games there's going to be some choppiness. That's just part and parcel of the position. With that said, what we look for, the fundamental characteristic at the Jets, we look for someone who's a gym rat. And, Mark loves playing football, if it was for free or for, tens of millions of dollars a year. And, today was a day off. I saw him in the building, and that's just who Mark is. He loves football. He's going to get better. Do I anticipate more bumps in the road? Absolutely. But with that said, we built the team knowing that at the quarterback position, again, we love his upside. We love where he's going to be. But we know that there'll be bumps. And that's why, we put a big emphasis on our offensive line, the running game. And that was not by accident.
Right.
Not specifically about Mark, but I'm talking now more in general. How long do you sort of give a young player to develop? Because at a certain point, probably 4 or 5, however many years it is, you have to say, well, maybe he hasn't developed into exactly what we thought. We got to go in a different direction. Do you know?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's a great question. And some of the biggest debates we have and disagreements internally is over that very question. Coach Landry, the Hall of Fame legendary coach of the Dallas Cowboys, always used to say with a young player, give him 3 years. And I think that's a rough estimate. Life's not full of hard rules. It's more about guidelines. And I don't know if you guys saw the game Monday night, Jacksonville against Baltimore.
Absolutely.
When Baltimore was driving to try to win the game, they're a 2-point difference, and game-winning interception was by a guy named Drew Coleman. Drew Coleman
Ex-Jet.
was a 6th-round pick of ours, and for the first couple of years wasn't really what we thought he was going to be. And we drafted Kyle Wilson. And the irony is, Kyle Wilson couldn't beat out Drew Coleman. Drew Coleman does great, has a great year. Gets a nice deal from Jacksonville, and now is a really good player.
Yeah.
There's a legendary story that Drew Brees was one Phillip Rivers rookie holdout away from being benched, and if Phil Rivers had signed on time, Brees may never have been the player he was, and it just takes a while sometimes.
Right.
Yeah.
And, the NFL is filled with those types of stories. So it's a great question. Those are the hardest debates to have. Is when do you move on? And the challenge we always have, especially in the Northeast, from the Redskins to the Baltimores to Philly to us, New England, all the way through, is it's a very competitive marketplace. So you have to win for today, but from where I see in the world, guys, you also have to develop for tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Okay, so let's. I want to shift the attention a little bit more directly to you. And I know that you had kind of an interesting journey up to this point, becoming the general manager of the Jets. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I was fortunate. I started off working for a college radio station in the late '80s, and the University of Massachusetts, and that's probably the biggest reason I'm sitting here today. Okay.
Oh wow.
And I love people that have passion and dreams, and I was just fortunate that mine worked out.